Welcome to this week's Ancient History News. My headline story is about a Neolithic burial uncovered in Germany. Rather interestingly, 3 different cultures used the site over several millennia. I then discuss a cave necropolis in Spain that was also in use for thousands of years, the discovery of 16 ancient rock art sites in Brazil, and the excavation of a Hittite clay tablet featuring a prayer at a time of civil war. Archaeologists find large Neolithic burial site in Germany. A burial site dating to around 4000 BCE has been found near Magdeburg in Germany. Since last year, archaeologists from the State Office for Heritage Management and Archaeology Saxony-Anhalt have been carrying out excavations of the area in preparation for a construction project. They have uncovered a large ritual complex that was used for several thousand years by different cultures. The site consists of 2 huge mounds, each enclosing a trapezoidal wooden chamber containing multiple burials. These mounds are 200 meters from one another, and the wooden chambers they enclose measure 20 by 30 meters. The mounds were built by the Balberger culture, who inhabited the region between 4100 and 3600 BCE. Part of the funnel beaker culture, the people now referred to as Balberger, lived in central Germany and are known for their undecorated bulbous pottery and tumulus graves. They were named after the village of Balberger, where a large tumulus called Scheideberg was excavated, and the first ceramics belonging to this culture were identified. Around 1000 years after the 2 burial mounds near Magdeburg were built, during the time of the globular amphora culture, the space in between them became a processional route. It is along this corridor that the burial of a man aged between 35 and 40 was found alongside cattle which had been sacrificed. The way the burials of the man and the animals were laid out created the image of a chariot pulled by cattle, something that has been seen in other graves from the same time period and older. This is a highly symbolic ritual, since cattle were extremely important to the livelihood of these Neolithic people. So by sacrificing the animals, the community was relinquishing its food security in order to make an offering to the gods. 1000 years after this pathway between the mounds had been created, a 50 centimeter wide palisade ditch was dug on this former processional route that also encompassed the 2 burial mounds but didn't destroy them. In the same area, 600 meters away, several burial mounds measuring 10 meters in diameter and belonging to the corded ware culture were also found. People from the corded ware culture lived there sometime between 2800 and 2050 BCE. These 3 sets of burials and the palisade ditch show that the site remained important to different Neolithic and Bronze Age groups for several millennia. This continuity in the symbolic importance of a site is seen in other places as well, and it's actually a feature of my next story too. Researchers find that a cave necropolis in Spain was in use for 4000 years. The Cova dels Xaragals, or Cave of the Ravines in English, is located in the mountains 90 kilometers west of Barcelona in Spain. It's been excavated several times over the years, with the most recent excavation taking place in 2023. The latest excavation was led by archaeologist Antonio Rodriguez Hidalgo, who works as a researcher at the Catalan Institute of Human Paleoecology and Social Evolution and the Merida Institute of Archaeology. Overall, the research has uncovered approximately 7,000 bones belonging to the Neolithic, the Chalcolithic, and the Bronze Age. The cave was first used for burials more than 7,000 years ago and continued to be used in this way for 4,000 years. Numerous grave goods were found alongside the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age burials, including pottery, flint tools, and necklaces. The Bronze Age burials had the most grave goods, which also included weapons. According to the researchers, the grave goods buried with the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age individuals indicate that high-status people were buried alone, whereas low-status people were buried collectively. Interestingly, one of the Bronze Age skulls has a hole in it. This could be an example of trepanation. However, since there are no signs of bone regeneration within the hole, the individual did not survive this procedure. More than 100 trepanation scars have been found on other prehistoric skulls in Spain over the years. It's not clear if the cave was used continually during the 4,000 years or abandoned and reused by different groups. Much more radiocarbon dating will need to be carried out to confirm either way. Regardless of the time period, those carrying the bodies up the small mountain to bury them in the cave respected the earlier burials. The latest excavation in the Cave of the Ravines also discovered the bones of wild goats and charcoal in a part of the cave that dates back more than 45,000 years. This was the time Neanderthals occupied the region and before Homo sapiens are thought to have arrived in the area. So it's possible Neanderthals also used the cave. However, this is something that needs to be confirmed. Further research is being carried out, which includes analysing the DNA, the ceramics, and the metal grave goods, as well as paleoanthropological studies. 2,000-year-old rock art discovered in Brazil. During 3 expeditions carried out between 2022 and 2023, archaeologists discovered 16 rock art sites in the Jalapão State Park in Brazil. Dating back to pre-colonial times, approximately 2,000 years ago, these engravings include the depictions of human footprints, animals, and celestial bodies. The research was carried out by Brazil's National Institute of Historic and Artistic Heritage and was led by archaeologist Romulo Macedo. Jalapão State Park is an arid area almost 800 kilometers south of the Amazon rainforest and covers 34,000 square kilometers. Considering that the 16 sites are close to one another, it's likely that there was a connection between the groups that created them. The rock art is important because up until it was found, all that had been discovered related to the pre-colonial Jalapão people were stone artifacts. Several red paintings were also found at a few of these 16 sites, but these probably date to an earlier period, and it's likely they were produced by a different culture than the one that made the engravings. The stone artifacts previously discovered in the park may have been used along with pieces of wood to carve the images into the rocks. There's a lot of iron minerals in the area, so these would have been used to produce the red paint by first being ground into a powder and then being mixed with vegetal fat. Mostly intact Hittite tablet discovered at Büklükale. In 2023, archaeologist Kimiyoshi Matsumura from the Japanese Institute of Anatolian Archaeology discovered a small clay tablet dating back 3,000 years at the Hittite site of Büklükale in Turkey. Matsumura and his team have been excavating the ruins there for 15 years. The clay tablet is the first virtually intact one that they've found at the site. Büklükale is just over 100 kilometers southwest from the Hittite capital of Hattusa, the site of the famous Lion's Gate. The Hittites ruled central Anatolia during the Bronze Age from around 2100 BCE. Mark Whedon, an associate professor of ancient Middle Eastern languages at University College London, has carried out a translation of the cuneiform text on the tablet. The first 6 lines read, 4 cities, including the capital Hattusa, are in disaster. The remaining 64 lines feature a prayer written in the Hurrian language, which asks for victory. Büklükale is known to have been a major Hittite city, but the clay tablet points to it also having been a royal residence. The Hurrian language was used for religious ceremonies, so the tablet probably records a ritual carried out by the Hittite king, who must have been present in Büklükale for it. Hurrian was the language of the kingdom of Mitanni that was situated to the southeast of the Hittites, before eventually being taken over by them and the Assyrians. Hurrian isn't well understood, so translating the text took several months. The prayer is addressed to the storm god Tesob and discusses communication problems between the gods and humans. It also lists people who are thought to have been enemy kings. The tablet dates to the reign of the Hittite king Tudhaliya II between 1380 and 1370 BCE, which was around 200 years before the decline of the Hittite Empire. As with many other societies in the Mediterranean, the Hittite Empire was a casualty of the late Bronze Age collapse. Experts aren't certain what caused the late Bronze Age collapse, but think it may have been due to environmental reasons. When the tablet was written, the Hittites were in a period of civil war, as is evidenced by other contemporary texts. The research on the tablet has yet to be formally published. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you to my patrons and channel members, and I'll see you next time.